All right. Well, we'll probably have a couple more people coming in throughout the panel, but we'll go ahead and get started for now. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to So You Want to Stream Some Wizards, a guide to getting started and improving tabletop role-playing game streams. We wanted to start this panel. First of all, my name is Will. I'm one of the GMs and organizers for Live from the Apocalypse. We play and stream tabletop role-playing games for charitable causes, nonprofits, aid organizations. Every cent we make off of our stuff, we give away to charity. And we're also putting on JennCon with hope for TTRPGs. So thanks again for joining us. And then we'll go around. Justin, do you want to introduce yourself?
No.
All right, I'm just going to kick you out of the
room. All right, I'm out. Goodbye. See you later. See you next year. Hello, my name is Justin Crane. I am one of the Dungeon Masters, soon to be 50% of the Dungeon Masters of the No Fame podcast. I'm also the editor. I do all of the editing, all the video editing. But probably more applicable is I have a degree in audio engineering. I've been working in theater and entertainment for just about 10 years now. I've built and run Broadway shows, and shows way more complicated than Broadway shows, but people tend to pay attention when you throw the B word out there. And yeah, I've been trying my best to help as many people with my knowledge of bullshit routing on the internet. And that's, I think, why I'm here. I assume that's why I'm here.
As I've often said, my first rule of thumb when it comes to streaming audio, everything is listen to Justin. So Justin's a great resource, and very happy to have you here. Sol, would you like to go next?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Sol from Sol's Rolls. I do a bunch of different stuff online. I recently started streaming a game of Lancer called Hellboars, and Justin and Will have both been very helpful for getting me started there. I've seen a little bit of success, so they brought me on board as kind of the new guy to give the new person perspective, and I'm really happy to share that with you.
Hell yeah. You kind of took the concepts and just went wild with all of them.
Yeah, your stuff is wild. The moving stream backgrounds, the virtual backgrounds. Every time I see it, I'm like, man, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool.
It's a little bit much, you know. There's definitely a threshold. One of my other friends who streams that helps me, Ryan from the Neg2 crew, he also has given me a lot of advice, and we jokingly talk about the Icarus syndrome. You think, oh, I just want to add this one more thing. You fly too close to the sun, OBS crashes, your computer shuts down. You're like, okay,
yeah,
those were my wax wings. Let's be realistic here. But no, I'm definitely pushing the limits. I like it. I want to make sure that everyone has access to the stream, and I want to show that, you know, this is something you can do just getting started without any problems, and you can make sure that it looks great. You know, using the advice that you guys give me, it's possible for anyone.
Yeah.
Sol, just hearing real quick in the chat that you're coming through a little bit quiet, even turned up as high as they can in Discord.
Oh man, I forgot the Yeti is so convenient like that.
Mm-hmm.
How convenient, everyone.
Let's see here. Where are we at volume-wise now? Is this worse for everyone?
Do you have a headset mic?
I do not have a headset mic.
Interesting. It sounds like you're maybe not even coming through the Yeti, because I don't think the gain knob is doing anything.
Oh,
I was going to say there was no difference.
Yeah.
Our first this is an example, everyone. Our first lesson today is setting up your microphone.
Hey.
For whatever reason, Discord keeps knocking me back to.
Oh, that's a world of difference, yeah.
Yeah, it keeps knocking me back to my laptop setting. I'm not sure why. Video.
You might want to go higher though, but I hear the difference for sure.
It's definitely clearer. Just go a little louder, yeah.
Let's see what we can do.
Hell yeah.
What about now?
Yeah, that's the sweet spot. You got it.
Perfect.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Panel over. Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah,
thanks for coming.
That's your lesson. Bye, everybody.
Check your mic first. Good job.
Yeah, that's honestly, that is 90% of it, and it's very frustrating.
Truly.
So, yeah, we wanted to put this panel together because if you go on YouTube or Google or anything like that and you search how to stream, you get a million video results. Some of them are better than others, but there's a lot of resources out there. And if you do that for how to stream TTRPGs, you get almost nothing. So we wanted to put this together sort of as a collection of resources because we do a type of streaming that people don't talk about very often, and that there aren't as many guides, and comes with a wide swath of challenges. I think at one point I tweeted something like, everyone who's ever successfully streamed a tabletop RPG deserves a medal, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is coordinate 5 different people in different parts of the world with different internet connections, different machines, different resources at their disposal, and not to mention all of just the regular time scheduling stuff of running a tabletop game. So if you've ever done this successfully or recorded a podcast or anything like that, you deserve a Medal of Honor right off the bat. But moving right into this, we're gonna start off talking about the streaming program that you use, because I think a lot of us I started off with Live from the Apocalypse using Streamlabs OBS. Because most of the guides out there and things talk about how it's much simpler, it's much more user-friendly, and that is true to a degree. However, you also sacrifice a lot of control and a lot of the ability to modulate, whatever, your stuff. You know what I mean?
Modularize.
Modularize your streams.
Also
OBS
paywalls.
Yes,
there.
and also paywalls.
Paywalls
And
are
that's not even getting into their like shady business stuff of stealing people's ideas and UIs and things like that, which they apologized for, so it's fine now.
Oh yeah, sure.
But what I would really recommend is, even though it has more of a learning curve, it's always worth it to learn how to use OBS, because it just gives you that much more control and that much more ability to change the things and make things look a little better and run a little smoother. One thing that I would really recommend right off the bat when you start using OBS is you look into docs, because OBS has these little widgets almost called docs that you can place pretty much wherever you want in the layout of your OBS setup, sort of the director side view, I guess, or the streamer side view. And one of the things you can put on there is a stats doc. And when you have the stats doc up, what it does is it shows you in real time your frames per second, the CPU usage that it's using. You have 3 different settings for if you're dropping frames. Whenever you're watching a stream and it starts to get all glitchy and pixely and weird, that's well, it could be 2 things. It could be, 1, Twitch is having issues, but it could also be that they are dropping frames, which basically just means that somewhere between that pipeline of broadcasting the stream out and it reaching Twitch, something is happening to depreciate the quality drastically. So the stats doc in OBS shows you frames missed due to rendering lag, skipped frames due to encoding lag, and also frames dropped due to your network. And while those sound very similar, they actually are really helpful to tell you where the problem is. Because if you're having issues with your computer rendering frames, it means your CPU is overloaded normally. If you are having issues with your frames dropping due to encoding, it means that your GPU is overloaded, because that's where the encoding generally happens. And if you are dropping frames with your network, then that's pretty obvious. It means your connection is suffering. So I would really recommend keeping that stats doc on hand so that you can sort of diagnose in real time any problems that you might be experiencing. It's always worth just playing around with those docs in general. There are ways that you can update your stream in real time. You can control your audio mixer, add filters and things like that to make the audio sound smoother, to clean up video, brighten people if they're too dark, things like that. It is a big undertaking to learn how to use OBS fully, but it is absolutely worth it. And if you invest that time up front, it pays off dividends when you actually start streaming. So that is the first thing I would say, because when I first started streaming, a couple people did tell me use OBS, and it took me longer than I am proud to admit to make that switch. And if I had done it sooner, our early streams would have looked very different, and I would have had a head start on a lot of things that it took me a very long time to figure out myself. So absolutely, start with OBS. That's the number one recommendation that I can give as somebody who streams tabletop games. Soul, Justin, your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely understand why you are streaming and what tools you're going to need. For a lot of people, like we were saying earlier, there isn't a lot of information on streaming for tabletop out there. So you're going to need a lot of recommendations that won't necessarily fit what you need if you go looking. What someone needs to stream, say, a video game, is going to be completely different from what you need to stream tabletop. Make sure that you know what you're doing. If you're doing a stream for just sharing your game and not really worrying about making money off of it or growing an audience, then use whatever's simplest. OBS is a very, very powerful tool, but it does have that learning curve. If you're not comfortable with that and you only want to share your game, then use whatever works for you. But if you do want to be successful long term, have a great looking product, maybe make some money, maybe grab some sponsors, grab some attention, and grow a crowd, you're going to want to put some time in. That learning curve, Hellbores for me, before I actually launched, I spent about 3 months working on developing assets, pulling music together, and doing a lot of tech trial short streams, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, setting up OBS before I brought anyone else on. That is the type of learning curve that it can take, especially as a hobby. You don't have 40 hours a week to put into this. You probably don't have 10 years of working with audio engineering. So understand that and come in with that open mind. It's also okay, once you've got your feet underneath you, to just work with the basics at first. You don't have to have all of the aspects of OBS mastered or video mastered or anything like that. A lot of times, I don't think anyone actually has the full program mastered. It's just too big. So work with what is good and gets you your goals, and then as you go along, take some time, add a little bit more incrementally. It will show growth in the stream, which is something that people look for, and it also is just a fun way to develop your own skills.
Keep
Yeah,
going until your CPU crashes. That's
Every
the
time.
advice.
the Justin
On
Crane
this,
method.
on that note, amazing points. Cycling back to just kind of OBS itself, OBS is open source, so there are so many people working on OBS all of the time. The the thing I love about OBS, and I joked about Streamlabs and stuff like that, having a paywall, is that because OBS is open source, a lot of people put out plugins for OBS, and they just have a Ko-fi that you just pop on and throw them a few dollars if you appreciate their service and stuff like that. But like, um, there are services like, let's say you want to stream to Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that. There's a plugin for OBS called Multi RTMP Out, which lets you
Yep.
do exactly that for free. You don't have to pay some service, $25 a month. A lot of these services add up monthly. It's the whole uh, TV stream, television show. How old am I?
Oh
Streaming
no.
service. It all adds up over time. But the one of the best things I love about OBS is how many things are out there that are going to do exactly what you need to do for next to nothing, or for a tip, basically. And sorry, quickly on what Soul was talking about, doing test streams. Something I found that was handy. I kind of stumbled. Speaking of paid services, um, Restream, while it does have a paid service, is free to use. And a little sneaky little tip here: you can broadcast to Restream and see your stream in real time without sending it to Twitch and YouTube. I know OBS has a broadcast test feature, but that kind of just tells you the network is doing fine, more or less. But you can actually go to Restream, grab their RTMP code that you're going to broadcast to, pop that into your OBS, and test your stream without actually being live on any of the services and seeing your video in more or less real time. I just wanted to touch on those two little things because it came up. But it's super helpful. It's something I found incredibly helpful, honestly, to make sure everything looks how I want it to look before going live. And you can do that at any level. You know, if you just want to see what your layout looks like with your webcam, I mean, it's a great little option to test out your stream like that too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And before we go on, I just want to say a couple things, which is that Soul's absolutely right. Use whatever works for you. These are all recommendations, but like nobody's going to make fun of you or anything. Well, nobody should make fun of you or anything if you don't use OBS or any of the things that we're talking about here. That's just how we tend to do things. If they do make fun of you, then don't pay attention to them. They're clowns. But yeah, just use whatever works for you and whatever you're comfortable with. And then I guess that's it. I guess that's all I was going to say. My head is empty. I completely forgot. Oh, if at any point we use like jargon or anything like that, that doesn't immediately make sense to you, if you have any questions, feel free to throw it in that letter A chat right up above the workshop channel. And we'll do our best to sort of circle back to it and clarify it a little bit. We've all been at this for a little while, and we tend to fall into patterns of using language that is maybe not as accessible to people who don't do this on a regular basis.
Right.
So, feel free to drop those in the chat if anything is weird or confusing. But yeah, all of those are really great points. I guess do we want to start singing the gospel of Video Ninja? I imagine that's mostly why we're all here.
I
Okay.
mean, we probably should.
We definitely should. This is so fucking stupid, but I had a vision. I had a fever dream-esque vision. You know those like Jesus candles? But it's like Steve from Video Ninja.
Mhm.
Okay.
Sorry.
I do want to maybe take a short step back because this is about getting started.
Yeah.
I touched on it earlier. One of the things I said was know what you're doing and why you're doing it. If you are looking to put on a really complex, high production value stream, especially with TTRPGs, you're going to need some tools. You're going to need some really better options than most people know about, talk about, or see, especially from a lot of streamers that are doing like video games. Most video game streamers probably are not going to get into the weeds like we're going to get into the weeds here. It isn't required. Bar none, it really isn't. But it's going to make your life incredibly easier, whether that is if you are just sharing your stream with friends, trying to make a fun little game, or if you're trying to run, say, a charity stream, or you're trying to run a digital panel, or if you're trying to do some really long-term career growing, making money, doing the streaming thing. OBS is a great starting tool. It's really where the magic happens as far as getting things out to the world. But behind the scenes production values, where you're going to actually start seeing the differences between a casual stream and a more hobby career to career stream, you're going to find that in a program called Video Ninja, which is what we're probably going to be talking about a lot here. Now, if you don't want to get into the weeds like that, if you don't feel like this is, appropriate for your level of streaming, it's still good to know about it because you will change your mind. You absolutely will. You will fall in love with sharing your game, and then you'll be like, "Ah, oh, dang, I wish I'd paid attention to that stream earlier." So stick around, even if this isn't where you're at right now. You're gonna want to stick around and listen to this because it is so much useful tools at every level of the hobby.
Before we move into that Video Ninja section, thanks Sol for reminding me. When Live from the Apocalypse started out, I actually only switched to Video Ninja probably like 3 or 4 months ago. And before that, we were just kind of muddling through with a lot of different options, and they each have their pros and cons, mostly cons. But if you don't want to like get into the weeds, like Sol was saying, of working with a program like Video Ninja, I just want to touch on a few of those options right now off the bat. Obviously, we all got used to using Zoom over the course of lockdown and the pandemic and everything like that. Zoom is fine, but I have had experiences where it gets a little weird if you try to window capture in OBS. If you try to pull it into OBS, sometimes Zoom has software built into it that blocks that kind of thing from working. And I think there's a way to disable it. If I remember, there's a setting that you can turn off, but it's kind of a headache and a pain. We never used Zoom. The first thing that we started off using was actually Google Meet. At the time, it was free. It is no longer free. It is now you have to pay a monthly subscription service. Otherwise, you only get like 50 minutes, similar to Zoom.
Yep.
The benefit of Google Meet is that it has a very, very good captioning service, and you can actually pull those captions sort of directly into OBS as its own as a window source, and then just crop it down so that it only shows that. Also, the one thing that I wish I had known about OBS when we first started streaming is that if you hold down Alt and click on one of the boxes, it just lets you crop.
Yep.
There is a filter you can apply that lets you crop. You have to define it like pixel by pixel. So like you have to crop 100 by 100 by 100 by 100, and then it scales it down by 100 pixels in every direction. But if you just hold down Alt and click in the corner of the window and then drag, it will crop for you. And I didn't know that for probably like 7 or 8 months of us using OBS and streaming.
no.
And it blew my mind when I got like a TikTok that told me how to do it. And I was like, are you kidding me? I have spent so much time on this. Anyway,
Damn 16-year-old on TikTok. This is how you
yeah.
crop.
And on Mac, it's option for cropping. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to that. So Google Meet, you can crop it down and have the captions there, and the captioning service is actually very good. It's probably for accuracy the best one that I've seen. However, it does show people's email addresses and their pictures. It's kind of a pain. You have to go in and change that each time. We all got sick of doing that, and then they started charging, and we were like, no, we're done with you. No, thank you, Google. From there, we moved on to Discord, and Discord works pretty well. Obviously, like this, you kind of just pull it in. But with Discord and Google Meet, you're going to have things where like the window lights up green. The Google Meet one shows a little like icon in the corner when it's detecting people's audio, and just stuff like that. That is going to make it like people are going to look at your stream and they might see like the faintest line of green and they're going to say, oh, they're using Discord, and it breaks the immersion a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But like when I see it, when I'm watching our stream in OBS and I see that little line of green, it just throws me off my game completely. But Discord was fine. Obviously, there's no captioning feature. And for Live from the Apocalypse, accessibility has always been really important to us. And I know that's true for Soul and for Justin as well. We have one cast member. We have one cast member on Live from the Apocalypse who is deaf. And so that has sort of presented its own set of challenges. But as a result of that, we have always prioritized having live captioning, both for the players and for the audience watching. And so with Discord, we ended up using Web Captioner. Web Captioner works well. It is free. It results in some hilarious mistranslations that are very funny, but it is kind of a pain to get it from Web Captioner into the stream. You can caption it. You can crop it, but it'll only grab the audio coming from your microphone. We'll circle back to Web Captioner when we get to the accessibility section, probably towards the end, as long as we have time. But let's start talking about Video Ninja, shall we?
I think, sorry, kind of relating to the whole Zoom thing and Discord and stuff like that. We did the same thing. What the straw that broke the camel's back was when I was editing our podcast, because we do video and stuff with our podcast as well. And someone leaves the call and everything shifts, and I was just like, this is so much work to edit, because then I'm like rearranging everyone's videos and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
that was like, I need to find anything that keeps the video in a static position. For the love of God, I need something to get rid of this issue. And then, yeah, I don't even know how I came across. I think it was a Reddit post. Someone's like, "Oh, this thing is really cool," and I was just like, "Oh, I'll check it out. I'll check out anything at this point. Like, I need anything, honestly." And it was Video Ninja. It was called OBS Ninja at the time, and Steve has since gone and rebranded. So, if you're looking for tutorials, maybe try both names, because there's some old tutorials called OBS Ninja, but he's kind of trying to separate, the brand a little bit from OBS Studio, of course. But yeah, and Video Ninja was just eye-opening for, and Soul said this perfectly, the amount of control that video gives you over your streams is so difficult to match for free. It's
Yeah.
so hard to find a service that provides everything that Video Ninja provides for nothing. Steve has like a donation page, and that's it. He works endlessly. I've never seen someone working so much on anything in my life. His Discord is insane. There's 1,000 people every day asking random questions. Some of them don't even make sense, and I don't know how he deciphers them. But yeah, Video Ninja really changed the game for not only us recording, um, which is a whole other topic, but when we started live streaming, I was like, this is amazing. This honestly is just so good.
So if we're singing the praises, I'd like to chip in here. When I started streaming, well, when I started the idea for Hellbores, I had a couple of goals in mind. One, priority number one, accessibility. Priority number two, ease of use on production side. Priority number three, ease of use on player side. I wanted to find solutions, plural, that allowed me to run a stream very easily, that was accessible and easy for my players and interactive. Video Ninja in one program solved all of my problems. Live captioning, straight from it. Accessible for the players, they click a link, they're immediately on board, they don't have to send me anything. Easy for me. I don't have to change anything on my OBS settings. I have the links already in there. The browser sources are good. I don't have to chase screens around. I don't have to window capture. I don't have to deal with the problems with Zoom or Google Meets or Discord, where if a player enters in the wrong time, their camera's in a completely different location. I don't have to worry about the inevitable internet blip, which shifts everyone's cameras 30 pixels to the right, and now you have to spend 20 minutes troubleshooting all that. No, I'd seen these problems before, the solution to them before I got started. Video Ninja solves that, and it's free. Cannot beat that sort of ability. Absolutely cannot.
Um, a-
100%.
Absolutely. It's amazing. Steve. So the Steve that we're referring to, Steve, I think his last name is Seguin.
Segwin, yeah.
Seguin. Yeah, he runs a YouTube channel that is mostly tutorials for how to use Video Ninja, OBS Ninja. So really, if you just find his YouTube channel, it's got a lot of the resources that you'll need to get started. And then there are other guides out there that other people have made, also singing the praises of the program, also demonstrating the crazy things that they've managed to do with it. It's yeah, I just cannot say enough about what a game changer it was to use, and it's very similar to OBS in the sense that you have to invest a lot of time up front to learn how to use it. But there is an amazing community in his Discord, like we were saying, the video.ninja Discord. And also, I'll just do a quick plug for Hope for TTRPGs, the Discord server that our friend Hope runs. Sol is a moderator there. And there's a channel in there for streaming and recording technology that the three of us all hang out in. And I don't know about Sol, but that's how I heard about Video Ninja for the first time, was because I was checking out that channel and Justin was talking about it. And that's a great resource as well. Well, the three of us are in there, and there are other people in there who will also be able to give you advice and talk you through things. But
Speaking of that, tutorials and stuff like that, I did create a very specific tutorial for tabletop gaming in video. So setting up OBS specifically for tabletop gaming. And I also, just for this little panel, uh, made a little. I'm going to try to draw. I'm going to drag and drop this document into chat.
I believe in
Make
you.
sure it's the right one before I hit enter. It is great. This is kind of a very brief overview of kind of the things we're going to be talking about, I guess. I don't really go into the captioning and stuff like that, but that's something we're going to talk about for sure. But that's kind of a rundown of like how invite links work, some of the terminology, what the things in a video URL mean. And again, these are topics we'll talk about, but I kind of just put this together. Maybe it'll answer your questions after the panel is over. Maybe you'll be like, oh, wait, what did they talk about? It certainly doesn't cover everything, but it's kind of just like a little mishmash of information. And hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully it helps anybody out there who are looking to get into Video Ninja because, again, it's free and it's truly a wonderful program, a
Yeah.
website.
To try to summarize it, because I see in the chat people asking sort of what exactly it is, because we're giving background information and how we found it and saying how great it is. But basically, what it is it's sort of a two-way video conferencing software at its core. So when you join a room, similar to how we're in a Discord room right now, you are joining from a push link that is sending your video and your audio into this room. And then what Video Ninja does is it also generates a view link for both this group scene. So like all of us in this Discord call would be the group scene, but it also gives you an individual view link that you add to OBS as a browser source. And then it gives everybody their own little browser source, their own little window that is just them. So if somebody drops out of that call, nobody rearranges because everybody's their own individual source. And at its core, that is what Video Ninja is. It's surprisingly lightweight for what it does, but I will say those browser sources do eventually add up. There are plenty of workarounds for that. There are lots of guides out there for how to reduce the load on your computer and your internet connection. We probably won't get into any of those too deeply, because that's like that in Justin's guide. If you look at it, that's like, you know, the deep magic.
Oops.
But yeah, that is perfect. Thanks, Sal, for dropping that example. It essentially, sorry, I'm going to answer a question right now. Does this bypass the need for Zoom/Discord? Yes, essentially it does. It is both your video and your audio input and output. And all you're doing is taking the output and putting that into OBS directly. So where you would normally window capture like a Discord call or a Google call or a Zoom call or whatever, and then add the audio through like your desktop audio, because you know you're hearing it. You send your desktop audio out to OBS. Everybody's audio and video is one source bundled together. So you end up with five sources that each one is one person's video and audio. And that's sort of the summation of it. There are a couple more questions I see in the chat, and we'll circle back to those as we reach that point. But I'm sure, Justin, you have much more insight into this than my very simple explanation.
No, I mean, that was to the point. I mean, you nailed it in one, really. It really is. If you think about it, it's just taking each individual person in your call, giving them their own space in OBS, uninterrupted. Their audio comes in separately and their video comes in separately. And the best thing about this, again, we've talked about it. If they leave the call, the video doesn't shift. Wow, losing my voice. But another amazing aspect of this is because their audio is coming in separately, you can apply filters, noise reduction, equalizers, compressors, uh, reverb effects if you really want it. If you had the audio tools, you could really go all out with this essentially. But it really it helps bringing in everyone on their own channel, because the quality of your stream then is 100 times better, because you have these fine controls. Oh, like, oh, this person is in general too loud. I can take them down for the entire stream. Oh, this person sounds a bit weird. I can just EQ just them. A lot of people, we talked about this too, take one audio source from Discord and put it into OBS via virtual cable. That works. That 100% works. If that's what works for you and you're happy with it, no one's going to argue with you, you know? Um, but the problem there is if someone's too loud, if someone sounds weird, and you try to fix that, generally it's going to affect everybody, that entire stream's audio, because it's going through one channel. And bringing in each individual source from Video Ninja, which is again like a group call service, you get a little link for each person. You drop that into OBS as a browser source, and then you have control over each individual video, and again filters, audio, and stuff like that. And it really is less of a headache once you figure out how to work it all. Once you kind of learn how to get it all set up. But besides that, probably one of the best things is you generate these invitation links that's for each individual person, every time they click that one link, they're instantly back in OBS, back into the stream. You don't have to reset up. You set up once generally, unless you're like, I assume all of us, and we're always fucking around with all of the settings.
Guilty, very guilty.
Yeah, you're not
Theoretically,
wrong.
you set up once,
One and done, yeah.
and then you send out the same invite link. Everyone has their own individual invite link. They click it. They're back in their little slot in OBS for the stream with all the settings that you saved. Good to go. And really, that at the end of the day is kind of just a world of difference from messing around and resizing all the video portraits from Discord or Zoom and stuff like that.
So one thing that I'd like to say is, a lot of us that are doing the streaming, the people that are doing the production, hosting, running, etc., also very likely people running, hosting the game. Most of us that are game runners are maybe a little bit type A control centered individuals. And as we said earlier, Video Ninja gives you control. You can control every single aspect of what goes out to OBS. But there is a flip to that that I think is really interesting. I'm autistic, so I have auditory processing issues at times, and Hellbores has its more than fair share of autistic individuals on. Within Video Ninja, you can right click on someone and control audio levels on the player side, and that does not mess with what gets streamed out to OBS. So, for example, I've got a virtual cabled in music and sound effects. Anyone that finds those too loud or obnoxious, they can mute that. They can cut it out completely. They don't have to listen to it. And that doesn't affect anything with what goes on the stream. So the stream gets a consistent output, but each player can control everyone else individually, letting them tailor their own experience. That's really hard to do with some other programs to get that level of fine control with ends. So that's another really great thing.
The thing too about OBS, Video Ninja, um, your room kind of is, once you figure out how to set up your room, everything is determined by the URL of your room and the URL of each member you're inviting. So there are a ton of options to add to each person. There are some things that help out. We can kind of get into this at some point too. There are some really deep dive topics, like controlling bit rate individually of people like that. And that's a lot sometimes to kind of get your head wrapped around in and try to figure out. But basically, you kind of set up your room with certain URL parameters, and you can find all of these on the Video Ninja documentation as well. I have actually, there's a link in that document I provided. There's a bunch of links in that document I provided, but I can paste it in chat as well. But basically, adding these URLs to your chat give you like password protection, give you a unique name to your chat room. Can change the bit rate. If someone is having a hard time with their internet, you can lower their bit rate to see if that alleviates it. There are options for completely kind of removing the strain on their network. It's called Meshcast, and that's a bit of an advanced feature, but there's so much you can do with Video Ninja just by changing some of the parameters in the URL. It takes a little bit to get your head around. I did a brief explanation in that document as well of kind of, if you look at that document, I have a basic invitation link and what each of those parameters means in the invitation link. It also includes some examples of what I use in my invitation links. You can control audio, or sorry, yes, you can control audio. You can control echo cancellation, noise reduction, all kinds of audio features. You can change the quality of the audio, the quality of the video. It really goes about as deep as you want to investigate. At a surface level, you can join video, copy the link, put it in the browser, and you're done. But if you really wanted to perfect your stream setup and stuff like that, you can read through the documents and see what's possible, and it's almost endless. The amount of combinations you can do is insane. But at the end of the day, it really runs on these URL parameters that you can add to your invitation links for your players to join the call, or whoever's running the game or running the OBS side of your production, I should say.
Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button on my mic for a second there. Yes. We use Video Ninja pretty similarly. My computer is not the best. It's a little bit outdated at this point, and I definitely need to upgrade it if we're going to keep increasing the production quality. But there are so many different workarounds that Video Ninja offers, and that Steve has worked hard to provide you. And there is such a degree of control available that no matter what your system looks like, obviously there is going to be a technology cutoff with any type of streaming, unfortunately. But with almost any level of computer capability, technology, things like that, you can control the settings and play with them until you find something that still lets you operate and run it at the same time. For all the power and the control that we're talking about, even with my fairly outdated system, I can still have OBS open and streaming, have Video Ninja open with everybody in the call broadcasting out, have the control room open that's giving me as the director control over everybody's audio and bitrate and all that stuff that we're talking about individually, have a virtual map open via Owlbear Rodeo or Foundry or Roll20 or whatever you use, and also still have like Discord, Firefox, Windows like that open for reference. And my computer can handle all of that at the same time. So it's pretty crazy. You just have to, it's just really playing around with the settings to find what works for you.
100%. That, to be honest, is probably one of the more tedious parts about all this is you do need to put the time in. But again, once you kind of get it set, then you're good to go. Kind of tying into all this a little bit too is something I wish I knew about OBS. I wish I knew about setups in general, because I only stumbled on this maybe 2 or 3 months ago, after however long we've been doing this. Setting up your OBS from the start in a manner that makes sense for you to be able to change things and it not be an absolute nightmare on yourself. Like doing yourself a favor by setting up OBS in an efficient manner to save time in the future for yourself, is creating what's called nested scenes. So when you're creating your OBS template that you're going to use for streaming and stuff like that, you're going to add like a webcam, and you're going to add your microphone, and then you're going to add browser sources for your friends that are in the game as well. And all that, it makes sense. You copy the video link, you put them in as a browser source, and then you've got all your little squares of everyone there on one screen. But what becomes kind of difficult and tedious is then, oh, someone's name is slightly askew, and then you have to like zoom in, which is a kind of a pain on OBS to zoom in on your space. It's a little bit of a nightmare, and then you're trying to like shift this name around. Fun fact: you can hold Control or Command while you're dragging an object in OBS to disable snapping, which is huge. But the probably the easiest way to set up OBS for yourself is nested scenes. And what that means is every single element of your OBS stream has its own scene. So my webcam has a scene. All of my players have their own scenes. I have one scene for webcam frame. I'm not copying and pasting the frame 5 times for each person. I have one scene for one frame, and then I have each individual person in another scene, just by using some of the OBS features where you add a source, you add a scene, you add a scene to another scene, which is like some Inception level stuff. And maybe we can pull up I can maybe pull up an example here, if it helps kind of clarify things. But learning how to make nested scenes sets up a workflow where, let's say you wanted to change everyone's frame, you no longer have to change 5, 6, 7 different frames. You simply change the one scene frame, and that trickles down to every other person in the call. Same with like changing the backgrounds. Changing like layouts becomes 100 times easier. You can drop people in just by dropping a scene into your like, let's say you have a battle scene and you want everyone in the battle scene. Instead of like, oh, I got to drag their webcam. Now I need to put a frame over their webcam, and now I need to put each individual title over the webcam. You just drag in Justin scene, and my scene has my name and my frame and everything like that. Honestly, learning how to set up a nested OBS template was a complete game changer. When I do my solo streams, for example, I tend to do them thematic to the game I'm playing. And so now I just switch a frame on or off. I hide it and then I'm good to go. It completely, I don't need an entirely different OBS setup just to stream something different. And same for your tabletop games. If you're playing high fantasy, you can hide the high or toggle the high fantasy frame. Oh, we're playing space, toggle the sci-fi frame. Things like that to do yourself favors for setup in the future are huge. And again, nested scenes was such a game changer. I'm happy to kind of pull up an example if we have time to go over that. But that is one of the biggest things I've kind of come across that has saved so much time for me.
I'm going to jump in there real quick. This is going to sound a little bit odd, but one of the best things that happened to me as a streamer very early on was OBS. OBS had a problem and it corrupted all of my scenes. Everything was trashed. So I had to start over from scratch. Let me tell you, that was one of the best things to happen to me because it allowed me to do a lot of revisiting, advising that I'd been putting off. I'm like, well, I really want to optimize this, but I don't have, well, no, now I don't have an option. So sometimes it can be really good to just look at what you've got going on and try and start fresh with new eyes rather than going back and revising. Um, what Justin was talking about with nested scenes, that makes this a lot easier if you do want to revise. So getting that set up would be really helpful, but sometimes it's okay if you just scrap everything and start all again.
Yeah, and I mean you will.
Yeah,
Like
you will.
whether because OBS crashes or something happens or because you just get sick of looking at it and you say, I feel like I could do this better, eventually you're gonna strip everything down to brass tacks and build it back up again. I think we could probably safely say we've all been there and done that. But it gets easier, and you have a better understanding for how everything is set up and how it works. And you're usually, I can say, I was much happier with the finished product. Another thing that I just wanted to mention, as long as we're sort of wrapping up this video ninja section, is you can. So one of the tools that OBS offers you that's really great is a virtual camera. It is a setting that you can hit on OBS itself that will turn whatever is in the scene that you're showing at that time into a camera source. And you can plug that camera source into anything that detects cameras. You can plug it into Discord. You can plug it into Google. You can plug it into anything, but especially you can plug it into Video Ninja. And so what Video Ninja lets you do is you can create a person. You can create somebody in the call that is just your OBS virtual camera, so that the group that you have in that call can see the stream in real time. I'm sure if you've streamed before, especially if you've streamed tabletop games, I'm sure you've had the thing where for us, it's usually when a donation comes through or if somebody subscribes and then an alert goes off. But if one of the players is talking and they're not seeing the stream itself, then they just sort of keep talking through it. Sometimes their audio gets lost. Sometimes it derails the moment. Having that stream visible via the OBS virtual camera to the players means that when that alert pops up, they know, let's pause for a second, let's stop talking, or everybody thanks the donor or the person who subscribed or whatever. But it's just very handy for them to be able to see what's happening on the stream and also play the game and see each other. So that is another thing that Video Ninja lets you do. And I would definitely recommend setting that up personally.
And that's something that I actually have not done yet, but I'm going to do after we get off stream here. I'm going to set that up because you brought up some good points.
And you can interrupt Will when he's playing a game by putting up a stupid GIF in his game and making him laugh.
That is true. You can.
I'm not saying I do this. I would never.
Our alerts are obnoxiously long. I will fully acknowledge that, and that has been the main issue. That is why it was helpful for us. But like we have like a clip of the McElroy brothers yelling "Grip it and rip it," or like when somebody subscribes, it's that clip of Brendan Lee Mulligan talking about how he's going to kill the dog. And so they play for longer than they should. I fully acknowledge that it's annoying. We're probably not going to stop doing it.
Well, it inspired me. I just want to say I put in chat quickly. Discord put them out of order. I did number them, but oh well. This is an example of nested scenes. So one scene is my camera, one scene is my frame, another scene is everything kind of put together with my text and stuff like that on it. And then let's say the top image for me on Discord at least is kind of that frame in Discord with a background, and that would be kind of the example of your overlay. And then you can drag around people, and you're not like, it's not an absolute nightmare. If you need to adjust text, you just adjust it on their scene. You can use studio mode in OBS is huge. If you need to adjust something live, you can click studio mode, make your adjustments on the left usually that you need to make, switch to a different scene completely, make some adjustments, go back to the original scene and hit turn off studio mode or hit transition, and um, your changes will be in effect. You know, it's like a sneaky little way of working behind the scenes while your stream is live. You can do stuff live for sure, but OBS does give you the tools in studio mode to change things behind the scenes without really causing a big fuss live on the air, for example.
The only thing that throws me with studio mode is it feels like it should be on the right for some reason. Like it just does, and it throws me every time I try and use it.
Yeah, same here. I almost never use studio mode, and I should, but it
I
throws
mean,
me.
a lot of a lot of the joy of live entertainment is things are going to go wrong and things are going to
Mhm.
happen. So people are kind of you do get used to it, but studio mode does give you the option. And if you another thing that I learned that blew my mind, and I'm sure maybe everyone knows this, but I don't. Uh, you can right click on your preview in OBS and choose instead of scale to window, you can choose canvas if you really need to get zoomed in, and then the space bar, if you hold it, allows you to drag the canvas. I had no idea, and it was amazing because now I can get in and adjust that one pixel that was bothering me. Like, oh, this is off by a hair. Just like a little thing I discovered about that. That was great.
Um,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
thank you for posting that like visual guide, Justin. That's really helpful. Do we want we are probably there's no panel after us. If people have to run to a game, that's totally fine. You're more than welcome to. Everything's being recorded and we'll have it up on YouTube. We might go a little bit over our scheduled stop time of 1 p.m. just as a heads up. I think we do still have a couple things to discuss, but we will absolutely do our best to hard stop by like 1:30 at the very latest. Is that cool with you two?
I'm fine. I've got nothing planned.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, do we have anything else we want to before we get into sort of that accessibility conversation of the streams? Do we want to add anything
Y-
else or?
Yeah, just like a little. I try to make this open, and I say it often enough. But honestly, if you cannot figure something out, if it's just you can't wrap your head around it, send me a message. I tell this to people all the time. I'm like, I really don't mind if I'm asleep. I'll message you when I wake up, but I will try my best to help you with your issue. I'm fairly good at the whole streaming setup thing. I have so much experience in audio and routing and stuff like that. I hang out in Hope for TTRPGs Discord exclusively under the streaming and podcast tech side of things because that's kind of all my life has time for right now. But you can either find me there, you can drop a question there. Generally, I'll try to answer it, or send me a direct message. Honestly, I really don't mind, and I will try my best to figure out what's going on and help you out. I just want to kind of it's not an easy thing to get into, and I just happen to know stuff about it, and it feels unfair that if someone is trying to get into streaming, it feels unfair that if you can't figure something out, I want to be the person to be like, here, this is exactly how you do this, or I will try to help you find the answer. Just honestly, send me a message. I truly don't mind if you have any questions about any of this at all. And I've done a lot of work in video, and I'd be happy to help for sure.
Yeah, I would say same. I know Sol has said that already too, but I would say you can absolutely DM me. But at a certain point, if I can't help you, I would just tell you to DM Justin. So probably you could just cut out the middleman and go straight to the source. I can confirm I have DM'd Justin with some very stupid streaming audio questions very late at night, and he has either answered or gotten back to me as soon as he wakes up. So
Yeah.
100%.
yeah, definitely feel free to do that.
One thing I will say about Justin is not only
He's an
uh,
idiot.
not only do they have an incredible expertise, they're very patient, very responsive to messages, but they're also very good about explaining the technical stuff so that you can get it. A lot of this stuff when you're starting is total jargon and it is way over your head and it's intimidating and frustrating. Even with some guides, it can still be that way. Justin has a knack for actually explaining it that makes it make sense. So I don't necessarily have that same knack, but I'm pretty good at teaching and coaching. But yeah, that's one of those really big things that Justin's got.
I
Um,
will certainly try my best. That's what I say.
That's all you can say.
That's all I can say.
That's literally all you can say. You can't say anything else.
I'm gonna try my worst. You know what? Fuck everything.
So moving into conversations about accessibility, because I think that's a very prescient conversation in the world of TTRPGs, in the world of streaming, and we are all pretty passionate about that. I think it's safe to say. So just to sort of circle back to things we used to do that didn't work super well. With Web Captioner, if you don't want to fuck around with Video Ninja because it's intimidating, or you just don't think you're there yet, or you don't have the time to invest into learning it, I would recommend personally Web Captioner. Webcaptioner.com, like I mentioned earlier, is a free tool. It captions you, but it only captions one audio input at a time. So it can capture your microphone, but obviously that doesn't help you if you are in a Discord call with 5 other people and you need to get their captions done. A workaround that we used to do, which had varying degrees of success, is you can use a virtual mixer program like Voicemeeter Banana, and this is kind of a Frankenstein thing. Once again, I would not recommend this as the best option, but it did work. You can use a virtual mixer program like a Voicemeeter Banana, which is free, and you can basically pipe your Discord audio, everybody's audio from Discord, into that Voicemeeter mixer, and then output it bundled together as one source, which is called like Voicemeeter output. You plug Voicemeeter output into Web Captioner, and it will do its best to then caption everybody in that call. If people's audio overlaps, if they're talking over each other, if somebody is quieter than somebody else, it will struggle with it. It will just as a heads up, it will struggle with it regardless, but you will have captions. And Web Captioner does give you a pretty good degree of control over like background opacity, text size, font, things like that. It is modular in that way. So if you're looking for a solution that doesn't require you to learn like Video Ninja or something like that, that is a good one. Web Captioner, there's also a share, an experiment out there that you can add, an optional one, which is called Share, which sort of lets you do the same thing that we're talking about with doing captioning through Video Ninja, where you can, everybody can generate a link. Excuse me. Everybody can generate a link for their captions, send it to you, and then you can add it to OBS as a browser source and then sort of scale it down, control it, how it looks, move it around, put it under people's videos, put it on their videos, whatever you want to do. It works, but not as good as the Video Ninja stuff that we have talked about and are going to talk about. So of the solutions that we have tried in the past, those are the ones that have worked the best. They're far from perfect.
Yeah, I always look at things like Web Captioner as the best of the worst options.
Yes.
Yeah, this is not ideal, but it will do the job. Things like Google, things like Zoom with the captioning they provide, they're great. They come back with some other problems. Accessibility isn't just in visual, auditory, but it's also financial. Financial accessibility is a big thing. That's part of why I like Video Ninja, and it's closed captioning. Doesn't cost any money. A lot of us are running on a shoestring budget, but that shouldn't be an excuse to skip out on anything that we can do to make the experience more expensive. So Video Ninja does have built-in closed captioning, and it's actually pretty easy to set up once you understand how the invite links and the browser links to OBS. Once that's done, it's actually pretty much a dream to do.
The thing too about setting up captioning in OBS through Video Ninja is it does change your invite link for all of your players, and it only works in Chrome. I I'm not 100% certain. I don't think it works in Chromium or Canary, which are kind of offshoots of Google Chrome. I think you have to use Google Chrome, which is kind of a pain. A way around this I found in Video Ninja is if you're the director of Video Ninja, if you're the person organizing everything, you can copy you can copy your group scene link, which is kind of the overall, it's kind of the same as bringing in Discord into OBS. You have one video and one audio source, um, basically. You can copy that group scene link and, oh my God, I just completely lost my fucking train of thought. Sorry, you can copy that group scene link and paste it into another tab. You're going to need to do some shenanigans where you can then take the audio from that tab, whether it's through some virtual cable or whatever means you have available. I'm again, if this is a confusing process, at me, do at me. Um, but you can bring that in as its own closed caption source, and then you're picking up everybody at once. The thing about the closed captioning on an individual basis is you need to be prepared to do one closed captioning for each member of the call. All of them need to be in Google Chrome as well. And if that's just not possible for someone, you might need to do this method where you copy the group scene link, which has everyone's audio. You make one caption source, and then you kind of just put that into your OBS. Uh, Getting into captioning in video specifically, the way invite links work, and again, that document has an example of an invite link you give someone. Instead of the question mark push, which is going to be the person's name, it's going to be question mark transcribe, which enables video to send their microphone to the Google Translate services that they use. And then when you're adding it back into OBS via the browser source as the director or the organizer, the browser source has to have ampersand CC, and that converts it into caption, or sorry, it enables the captioning on that particular video browser source that you're adding. It is a procedure. It does take a hot minute to get used to. There are some other preferable options to add onto URLs, but uh, the ability to have individual captioning for each person is huge. It's so nice. I love having captions on because I work in audio. I get so distracted by audio all the time. All sounds distract me, and it's horrible, and I can't turn it off. It's a curse. I did it to myself by going to school, like, I guess.
Don't go to school.
Don't go to
That's the
school,
takeaway.
kids. Stay out of school. Um, so I love having captions on because then I can be like, oh wait, what was that? And it's there on the screen for me to read. But not only that, obviously it has a huge range for people that really need it. It means a lot to people. I've had people tune into streams be like, oh my God, you have captions. That's so nice. And
Yep.
it really doesn't take that much to set up, but it is getting your head around turning your video browser sources into caption sources, basically, and changing your invite link for each person in the call as well. It again, it's a little bit of a process, but honestly, it really is worth it. And there's again ways if you can't put another 5 browser sources in OBS, there are definitely ways around that as well.
And again, because this is being VDO, it's a one and done solution. You only ever have to set it up once for each player, and it's done. So it takes negligible amount of time, and then you are ready and rocking to go. That's it.
Absolutely.
And that's the
Yeah, we have been streaming for about a year, and like I mentioned, because of our how important accessibility is to us as a group, we have, I think, maybe done maybe 3 or 4 streams over the course of a year, streaming at least once a week, usually about 3 or 4 times a week. I think we have maybe done 3 or 4 streams ever that did not have a caption option, just because for some reason something was broken or wasn't working, and we went ahead with the session anyway. But yeah, the Video Ninja thing is a huge game changer, just because it doesn't require additional setup. You don't have to update the web captioner link every single time you go live. You don't have to re-add the window capture of the captioning at the bottom that Google does automatically. It's just they start talking, and Video Ninja does the work on the back end, and then you are good to go.
Also, it's zero work for your players. They don't have to touch anything, change anything, do anything different. They just click their link and play the game, and they're ready to go, and captions come out.
I'm going to put in chat actually a little example of what a transcribe link looks like and what a browser source, so the person setting up OBS, what they need to add as a brief example. Again, wrapping your head around the fact that Video Ninja operates on a URL based system. So things you add to the URL, things you change in the URL will change the experience or the options and stuff like that. So I'm just going to drop a quick example what an invite link might look like for a player when you're using transcribe. Again, it only works in Chrome right now. And what you need to add to OBS to just get the text of that person's call or that person's video, sorry, in
Yeah,
OBS.
I dropped a couple of those earlier, but having them
Oh,
local. No, no, no. Go ahead and drop yours because they're going to be in one place, and I'm actually going to go back and delete ones so that way it's not confusing.
cool. I'll drop that in just 1 second.
While you're doing that, this question that just came up: suppose it would be worth it to add Chrome only to be used for this purpose? Generally speaking, I think that's true. People might have their own feelings about why they don't want to use a Google product, and that's up to them. That's between the GM and the player to talk about. But Chrome, I will say, is a CPU hog. It is a very well-known CPU hog, and some people's computers, like going back to what I said at the very beginning about streaming TTRPGs being about coordinating 5 different people with 5 different computers and microphones and everything, different schedules. It is they might just have a laptop that cannot handle running all this stuff through Chrome, even running a video call through Chrome, just because Chrome does just gobble up your system resources. And especially if you are doing Video Ninja through Chrome, and then you also have like a Roll20 or something like that open, then your computer is going to run out of capabilities if it's older. Your computer is going to run out of capabilities very quickly and just crash. It's definitely happened to us on stream before. We definitely have a couple players who like have to have Discord and the map open on like a laptop and then Video Ninja on their computer. And sometimes that's just what it takes.
I dropped it in chat. What you can see is, again, this is an example invite link, the first link. So instead of a push equals would be a question mark push equals would be the name of that person you're inviting. In this case, you need a question mark transcribe and push equals their name. That'll enable the transcription services. And that's kind of all you need to add to the invite link and other options that you want. The important things on the browser side that you're going to add into OBS, you'll notice I've got no video, no audio, and CC. That will disable the video, disable the audio for coming in to OBS, and only give you the text that shows up on screen, which is what you want. And then you can position that text wherever.
And another thing, you can also utilize custom CSS on the text as well. If you really want to get fancy, that is an option. That's a little bit deeper than we need to go, but if you wanted to differentiate players utilizing, say, color schemes or different font choices, that is an option. You can do that. So adventure with that as you will if you want to make a little bit of a stand there.
Hell yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't find my button again. Perfect. Okay. So as far as accessibility is concerned, does anybody else, did either of you have anything, any other thoughts on the topic? I know that we like captioning is really important for us, and we try to prioritize that. Sol, I know you've been working on a couple of other things. I don't know if you want to talk about
Yeah,
those.
I actually would love to. So being autistic, sometimes I will go nonverbal. That can be a difficult point. I know a lot of other people are nonverbal as well, and I've been thinking about ways to include them in the game in a way that would be smooth and seamless. I've talked to Justin and Will about this. I think the best solution we've found as far as accessibility options for novels is for them to use a standard text to speech program utilizing a virtual cable that pushes to something like which is actually pretty easy to set up. With video, you can select your audio source, so you can choose like your microphone, or if you've got a virtual cable, you could choose that, which would allow your nonverbal player to type, and that would go direct to text to speech, which is a lot easier for most people to pick up on, rather than having to reference back to a chat window. That also means, as far as production side, you wouldn't have to do a video window capture as well for text. You would just be able to pull audio. I think that is our best option currently, non-verbal players. I am working on is to do speech to text for.
Sorry, Sol. I think Discord's clipping you a little bit. You might want to turn yourself
Oh,
up just a little or lean forward.
let me. I think I might. What's going on as well? Do that to me.
Oh, the little
Yeah.
Discord, like, I'm going to cut you off on
Yeah.
this point.
Well, it's also doing the auto gain control. Default
Yeah.
to that again. I
Hate
hate that.
auto gain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's terrible. So with the non-verbal players, the best option to come up with is using a text to speech, which will output through a virtual cable to VDO. Because VDO is so actionable and easy, you can just select that as your audio source for the player and go from there. We think, putting our heads together, we think that's our best option currently. There may be better options, but we are not at this point aware of others.
Yeah, certainly. Oh, cool. Yeah, this question just came up in the chat. There are a ton of text to speech programs out there that are free. However, there are also a lot of paid ones, and like a lot of accessibility software, the better options are usually the heavily monetized ones. Obviously, people deserve to get compensated for their work, but it can be a little bit of a pay barrier. To the really, really good quality programs. I think in the proof of concepts that Sol and myself and Justin all sort of looked at for this, the conclusion was kind of that you can use any of those any of those browser-based text-to-speech programs that exist, and kind of plug that as your system audio, your desktop audio, for lack of another term, into a virtual cable, net that to Video Ninja so that it reads that as your source, and then the text to speech will come through on stream as their audio source instead of a microphone. So you're basically just bridging a connection between Chrome or Firefox or whatever browser you use into a microphone input. So you wouldn't have a microphone input, you would just have that.
And
One thing Windows does on that topic really well is under your Windows sounds. I know a lot of people use Windows, and Windows sometimes doesn't make things easy on you, but under your sound settings on Windows, there's at the very bottom, I believe. So if you right click the little speaker icon in your toolbar and you click sound settings, at the very bottom is app control, and you can designate apps two specific sound sources. So you can go directly from this text to speech app directly to that virtual cable and then set that virtual cable as your microphone in video, like Will and Soul were just mentioning there. Windows does make that kind of option extremely handy. It's a little bit more complicated on Mac. I'm trying desperately to go through what I know about anything. And there are some third-party applications that can help you. I'm trying to think if you can do it in another means similar to Windows, but I think it's a little bit more complicated on Mac. But definitely on Windows, you can directly designate any application, but specifically in this case, a speech text to speech directly to a virtual cable, which is incredibly handy. And I did put in that document up further in chat again some links to virtual cables for both Windows and Mac, just in case no one, if you're not aware of where to find it, etc. There are some helpful links there, hopefully to help someone out.
Perfect. And then the only other thing I really wanted to touch on for as far as accessibility is concerned is our player who is deaf relies on not wearing headphones because the headphones interfere with his hearing aids, and so he has to have the audio coming out of his speakers so that he can still hear it through his hearing aids and also be able to see everybody and their lips moving so that he can track what they're saying that way. So that creates another set of challenges because a lot of these captioning softwares, if they don't have any sort of echo cancellation built in. So what happens is when the audio comes out of his speakers, it goes back into his microphone, and so it starts captioning everybody again. But it reads, it would say his name, and then it would include the audio of everybody who's everybody who's talking at that time. And another great thing about Video Ninja and another great thing about Google Meet, to talk about the less optimized alternatives, is that they do have really good echo cancellation as far as captioning is concerned. So he has never had an issue with Google Meet because the echo cancellation works so well. With Video Ninja, echo cancellation is an option that you have to turn on. You can either do it through the director's side view, the control room. There's a little drop down menu where you can turn on echo cancellation or turn it off for everybody. The only thing with the echo cancellation, which works really well, is that this may not make any sense, but I just had this problem the other day and Steve walked me through it and I felt very dumb afterwards. The echo cancellation only works on the window that your audio is going into. So what Justin was talking about with generating a scene view that also has captions at the bottom, a scene view of everybody with everybody's audio that has captions at the bottom, we were trying to use that and everybody's audio kept echoing. And I was tearing my hair out trying to figure out, how do I get the echo cancellation to work? It's not working. The reason is because Chrome partitions things in such a way so that you don't have global control of echo cancellation. Echo cancellation can only cancel the feedback from a window that your audio is both going into and coming out of. If your audio is just coming out of it, the echo cancellation is unfortunately not going to do anything for you. But it is amazing that it is an option. And once it was explained to me, the solution was very easy. So if that is an issue that you encounter, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to walk you through it and explain it in a way that probably makes more sense than it just did.
No, that makes sense. Anything, it can't cancel. The way it operates is it takes that input signal, a microphone, and kind of the algorithm deciphers that against the output, so it's not picking up the sound that's being emitted from the speakers in your microphone that's creating this physical loop. So if you don't have everything going through one tab, again in Chrome, like Will said, it just won't work because then it's two separate entities that are not working together. They're kind of working against each other at that point. Yeah, no, you killed it. That totally makes sense.
Okay. Well, thank you. Um, We have like 9 minutes left. If there's anything either of you definitely want to circle back to touch on or anything like that, feel free. I'll scroll back and see if there are any questions that we missed.
Or if anyone has any questions now.
Yeah, or if anybody has any questions now, feel free to drop them. If neither of you has anything you want to circle back to, I know earlier on there was a question about recording locally using Video Ninja. And I haven't done that personally, but I know that it is a thing that you can do. And I don't know, Justin, Soul, if you have any experience with it, you might want to touch on it.
I might be psychic and I might be a seer. I'll leave that up to people, but it's also in that document. I posted in chat how to record individually, how to record individual audio channels and video. So sorry, let me start that over. How to record one video, but with multiple audio channels in OBS Studio with Video Ninja. It's in that document. I even did little screenshots to show you exactly kind of what it might look like. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It might be a lot to explain, but kind of the way it works is, let's say you bring in 5 people, a GM, and 4 other people, 4 players into your OBS scene. You position them in the window because you're only going to get one window. You can treat it like it's live. You can totally flip through scenes. It'll record just the, like a stream. It'll record the one video source. The difference is in your audio mixer of OBS, there's a little cog, and you want to right click that cog, and you'll see tracks 1 to 6. And when people join your video call in OBS, you'll also see that they now have a balance setting. The trick to recording multiple individual tracks of every person is, let's say the GM you assign to track 1 under the advanced audio properties in the audio mixer. You want to balance them all the way to the left. And then let's say player 1, you balance all the way to the right in track 1. When you bring that into your post-production software, if you import the video or you import the tracks from the video, that will show them on a stereo channel, but separately. Stereo channels are just 2 mono channels. That's stereo. One is left, one is right. So using this method, you can actually get upwards of 12 mono channels recording in OBS. I explained this in that document as well. You know what? Here, I'll drop it in chat again because I see the question there. Let me just navigate here. Boop-a-doop. It is back in chat. Excuse me. But you now have you always did have this capability, but I think it slips under the radar for a lot of people because it's like, oh, Twitch only needs tracks 1 and 2 generally, so who cares about anything else, right? But for recording, it's so handy to balance your players and everyone left and right, and then when you record, you'll be recording all of those tracks, drop them into your post production. Everyone is isolated, and again, it's all about it's all about control. It gives you so much more control over your recordings, over your final product that you're trying to release. Like it definitely will make you feel like you have a more polished product because you're able to individually affect and edit all the members of your show or podcast or whatever else you're doing. But yeah, definitely possible, and it makes it pretty easy. Just double check under video. No, double check under OBS settings. Under, you know what, let me bring it up now so I actually know what I'm talking about. Under OBS settings and output, you want to change your output mode to advanced, and then recording, you'll actually see audio tracks and they have little tick boxes. You probably just want them all on. There's no harm. They don't take up a huge amount of space. To be honest, at the end of the day, the video is going to take up way more space than the audio, of course. But you want to make sure that under your OBS settings, under output, under recording, audio tracks 1 through 6 are enabled. And that'll make sure you're actually recording 6 independent stereo tracks, which is 12 mono tracks, again, once you set the balance of each member of the call. I hope that made sense. I'm sorry if it didn't.
I mean, it made sense to me. So that with that, I think we should probably start wrapping up. We can bid you all a good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your panels and your Gen Con experience. We can all drop our like socials and stuff. Obviously we're in this Discord. If you want to just like friend us and contact us that way, you are more than welcome to. Our Twitter, if you want to reach out to me, is you can just get me at the Live from the Apocalypse Twitter, which is twitter.com/live from the APOC. I will pin all of our contact information as well. But yeah, I mean, thank you both so much for being part of this, and also for helping me get stuff set up for Live from the Apocalypse. I think it's great that we've all sort of collaborated with each other and all sort of improved our collective streaming capabilities through this give and take of information.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Really happy that I encountered you and had the chance to ask questions. A lot of people of Hellboars, and it's pretty much thanks to too. So yeah, if you want to see that in action, my socials down below, rolls everywhere. Feel free to shoot me a message, give me a follow, send me hate mail, whatever you need to do.
Don't do that. Nobody do that.
Don't do that.
I'm watching all of you. Yeah, honestly, thank you so much for having me here. I'm a big fan of people that do good, and you guys do so much good. And when Will was like, "Hey, I want you to be on this panel," I was like, "Amazing! I'm so stoked." Yeah, I'm just a big fan of that. Really, not much. I mean, I'll drop my socials and stuff in there, but again, if you have questions, if you can't figure something out, just send me a DM on either post in Hope for TTRPGs streaming channel. I'll probably see that there, and or send me a DM there or any social media at NoFamePod. Just send me. I'm the one who runs all the things. So if you message NoFamePod, it's me. It's my face. So any questions, feel free. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Usually it's pretty quick unless I'm asleep. But yeah, honestly, thank you. Thanks for everyone asking questions, and hopefully this was helpful. And thanks, guys, for having me on this panel.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both for doing it again. And thank you all for coming out to Gen Con and this panel in particular. Decolonizing the TTRPG is going to be the next panel that's up. Kyle is going to be leading that, so make sure you attend that one. And yeah, if you have other places to be, feel free to hop off, and I'll pin Justin's information, and then Kyle will get you all set up. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.